Morning, hello and welcome to episode 156 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mina and I'll be the host today and every other day over here. So yeah, welcome. If you're new, thank you for checking me out. I hope you'll enjoy this video, and if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's been a while. I've been aiming to do one podcast a month this year. I feel like that's just a manageable amount for me right now. I don't complete a billion projects a week like I used to back when I first started podcasting. And last year I tried podcasting every 2 to 3 weeks and it just didn't work out. And it seems like once a month is a good sort of process for me. And I do sometimes post other videos in between podcasts, like little review videos or vlogs or like spinning videos or whatever. So other things do crop up on the channel as well, other than just these dedicated podcast videos. So be sure to hit the subscribe button. I don't really say that very often, but if you do want to I guess stay in touch with what I'm doing, then that would be a good idea, because then you'll get a little notification every time I post a video. Alright, so places that you can find me online other than here on YouTube. You can find me as Knitting Expat on Instagram. You can find me as Mina Phillip on Ravelry, and I design and sell knitting patterns on Ravelry as Knitting Expat Designs. And I also have a shop over on Payhip, and that's just payhip.com/knittingexpat. All of this is linked below, and I'm in the process of getting all of my patterns moved over from Ravelry to Payhip as well, so they'll be available in both places. I know that Ravelry is not accessible to everybody because of the changes it went through last summer. So yeah, for those of you who can't access Ravelry, you can use Payhip, which is great. And like I said, everything is being shifted over to Payhip over the next couple of weeks. And yeah, so my entire library of patterns should be available in both places. Then I'm also on Etsy at the moment as Mina Makes. I'm going to start shifting away from Etsy and be purely on Payhip and Ravelry, just because it's easier for me to just have things limited to 2 platforms rather than having to like split myself over 3 at the moment. So we'll see how that goes. I may or may not stick with Etsy for a little bit longer, but that's just under Mina Makes. Again, everything is linked below this video on YouTube, so it should be really easy to find. If you go below the video, there's a description box and you can click show more. I don't know exactly what it looks like. It's like a little arrow sometimes, and then that'll open up and show you all the different links. And yeah, I have a Ravelry group on Ravelry's Knitting Expat Podcast, and I also have a Facebook group, but I'm not super active on there. So if you are on Facebook and you want to use it, that's absolutely fine. I kind of just post my Instagram pictures to Facebook. So I guess if you have Facebook but no Instagram, then that would be a good option for you. I'm trying to think what else. I think those are all the key places where you can find me, to be honest, and anything else that I've forgotten will be in the links below anyway. Yeah, so little rundown of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do some finished objects. I only have 2 to share with you, although I do have more than that, I just can't show you those. Then we're going to do some works in progress. I only have 2, and then we're going to move on to, I guess, acquisitions, things that have come in the mail, and then some spinning, and then some other little bits and pieces to wrap up the video. I guess just a bit of a life update, catch up at the end. And yeah, so hopefully it won't be too long, but I do have a tendency to ramble, and we've been going for 4 minutes and I haven't really said anything knitting related yet. Anyway, thank you again for joining me today, and so let's just jump right in. So first things first is finished objects, and I'm wearing my first one. This is my second version of my palette cleanser shawl, which is a design that I published, I guess, about a month ago now. And it's great. It's a really simple triangular shawl. I'll take it off and show you. It's huge. My version's turned out really big. It's adaptable, so you can use it with any weight of yarn and needle sizes, etc. You just adjust your needle size based on the yarn that you're using. I knit mine using 5 skeins of yarn. The grey was a farm yarn, and the 3 colours are actually my handspun. So part of the reason and part of how the pattern was developed was so that you could maximize the use of your yarn, especially if you're using something like handspun where the yardage can be quite variable. It's just really fun. And I also filmed and published a set of videos, I think it was 5, videos in the end for this on my channel as part of what I've called my Knit With Me series. And so this is the second series of videos I've done for a project. The first one was for a tubular cowl, and so this is my second one. I hope to do more of these in the future, but at the moment this is what I've had time to do. It's proven to be quite popular. People seem to have really liked it. I go through basically all the different techniques and methods that are used, from casting on to the different transition methods or transitions, different increase options, and you know, how to figure out when to stop one section, move on to the next, etc, etc. My bind off, I had a moment with my bind off where I ran out of one color and just switched out and bound off with one of my contrast colors. It's super adaptable. The whole point is to just go with the flow. It's called a palette cleanser because it's meant to be an easy palette cleanser project, so the name is what it is. And yeah, it's I'm sorry for the camera shake. It's just a really fun project and really easy and meditative, very easy TV knitting. Honestly, it's a great one, so I highly recommend. And it's also available as part of my Pay What Works pricing structure. So basically all my patterns from the last 2 to 3 years have been published with this Pay What Works pricing method. Last 2 years. And basically you've got the full price of the pattern, and then there are 3 coupon codes to give you various percentages off, so you can get the pattern at various price points. That's like the best or the easiest way that I can offer this sort of option. This one has a 4th coupon code where you can get it for basically 80% off, so very, very small amount. I kind of really wanted this pattern to be super accessible to as many people as possible, but at the same time, you know, I put a lot of effort into creating the pattern and creating the videos to go along with it. So yeah, I just wanted to create a balance where I could with that. So that's that one. And I'll have links to it below as well. So that's my first finished object. And my second finished object, you'll notice there's a theme with this video, and the theme is handspun. So it's all about the handspun this week, or this month, I guess. And that probably coincides with something else that's been going on and that kicked off at the beginning of this month. So I'll talk about that a bit later. So my second finished project is this cowl, and this is my whale song cowl pattern that I created a couple of years ago now. And I created this in collaboration with John Alban Textiles, and I used some of their DK weight yarn to do it. But then as part of the collaboration, I send them, they have the sample now for them to be able to use at shows and stuff, which obviously haven't been happening this last year, but prior to that they were, and they will again soon someday. And so this is what the cowl looks like when it's worn. It's knit using Fisherman's Rib, which, if you have taken any of my classes or if you've been with me for a while, you'll know Fisherman's Rib is a great alternative to brioche knitting. It's essentially exactly the same as brioche knitting in that the finished result is identical to brioche. There's no difference between brioche and Fisherman's Rib in the finished fabric. It's just the method of knitting it that changes. So yeah, it's really fun, and this involves Fisherman's Rib and cables, which is really exciting. There is a video linked in the pattern where I show you how to do the cabling in Fisherman's Rib. Like, it's really simple. If you know how to do Fisherman's Rib and you know in general like how to do cables, then meshing the two together isn't actually all that difficult. If you know how to do the two things independently of each other, doing them together is just another step in that progress. Fisherman's Rib is technically reversible, so you see the reverse of the fabric looks really pretty as well, but the cables are one-sided. The cables don't show on the wrong side of the work. So whilst it is technically reversible, it does have a defined right and wrong side. If you were just doing it without cables and it was just straight Fisherman's Rib, then it would be a fully reversible cowl. But yeah, I really love how this one has turned out. And again, the whale song pattern is available. It's one of my older patterns. Like, it's, well, I say older, it's about 1.5 years old, but it's not a recent published one, is what I'm trying to get at. And this used 2 of my own handspun skeins. So I can't actually remember where the fiber was from for the main color, the main red dominating one, but the background color, which is the one that's dominant on the back, was a braid of fiber that I dyed with a friend using acid dyes. It was one of my first times dyeing, and then spun up, and that was really fun. So I'm really glad I got to use that. and it ended up being a really quick knit as well. I was surprised how quickly this knit up. I always find with certain projects, the initial start and the first couple of inches or the first little bit takes the longest, or feels like it takes the longest to get that bit done. But then once you get past that bit, everything starts to flow and it becomes a bit more like muscle memory, and like your hands suddenly remember how to do all the different movements and the different stitch combinations, and then it just sort of flows from there. I should say this hasn't been blocked yet, so it's still a lot more squished up. It will relax a little bit, but I personally try not to over block with Fisherman's Rib or brioche, because you don't want to lose that squish factor, which is really one of the lovely features of brioche knitting. Anyway, so that is that one, and yeah, that's my last finished object that I have to share with you today. Like I said, I do have others, and the other 3 that I have are socks, and I can't share those with you because they are patterns for my sock club for this year, which is themed around the world in 8 socks. So if you haven't seen the video, I did a dedicated video about the sock club where I shared a lot of information, a ton of information about how it's going to work and everything, but that launches on Monday. And today, I don't think I actually mentioned the date, today is Saturday the 27th of February. And like I said earlier, I've been trying to do one a month and I haven't done my February podcast yet, so I'm squeezing it in. I'm trying to get in under the line. I really didn't want to leave it and hit March, just because mentally I wanted to make sure I had one a month this year. So Perry's actually taken our daughter Layla out to the garage to do some stuff out there whilst I get this filmed. So if you end up hearing some background noise later, that's just them coming back inside. Okay, so like I said, the other 3 finished objects are socks, which are for the sock club, and the first one is launching on Monday, which is so exciting, and I can't wait to start sharing the socks with you and sharing the patterns and the designs. I'm just really excited about it all, to be honest. The sock club at the moment is available at the cheapest price it will be available for the foreseeable future. Like, I don't imagine it coming down to this price again. I think it's £20 full price, and there's a discount code option which is on the pattern page that gives you 20% off that, so you can get it for as little as £16. So there's a whole bunch of extra stuff that comes with the patterns, with the club, as well as the 8 sock patterns. So please make sure to go check out that video if you want to get all that information, or you can read all the same information on the listings either on Payhip or on Ravelry as well. So all the information is available in a variety of different formats. And yeah, so on Monday the prices are going to go up a little bit, so I think it'll go up to £25, and then the discounted option will be £20. So there'll always be a 20% discounted option for the whole club overall. Again, it's part of my philosophy of trying to offer a variety of price points to suit a variety of budgets. Okay, so that was that. It's really exciting. I'm super excited about it. I will also have links to the sock club pattern, to the sock club's pages where you can purchase them below this video as well. Lots of things to link today, apparently. So yeah, that's that one. Then moving on to works in progress. So I do have another pair of socks on the needles whilst I'm waiting for more yarn to arrive for the next, for more of the club patterns. Essentially, I've cast on some vanilla sock, or vanilla-ish socks. So these are just, this is out of Handspun. Again, this is not my Handspun. This is actually Handspun by my friend Sarah, who's an amazing spinner. I aspire to be like her one day. She's an awesome spinner, and she spun this 3-ply yarn for me. I think the fiber was originally from Three Waters Farm, and I think the colorway is, let me just find it, yeah. Voices in My Mind. It's a merino tensile blend. So I'm not sure, I don't think it's superwash because it doesn't say. But I was thinking about, I was knitting these up and I was thinking that my dad would quite like these colors, so I'm thinking of knitting these for him. I'm probably gonna, I machine wash all my socks on a delicate cycle, like a wool wash cycle at 30 degrees centigrade. So, and even my Handspun socks usually go through that cycle fine. It's only if they're washed on a higher temperature and not the wool cycle, so like on a normal wash cycle, that they end up felting. I've had that happen once, so I learned my lesson that way. But pretty much all my wool socks get washed together in one batch on a delicate wool cycle at a lower temperature anyway. And my parents, my mum also, like, you know, they wash their socks the same way because they have so many hand knit socks now that they just do a single load for all their socks when they have enough to do them. So I'm going to put this through the wash at home first to make sure it doesn't shrink before I give it to my dad. But these will probably be for my dad. It's basically, I did a 2x2 rib at the cuff, and then I basically just kept 2 columns of pearl stitches on the front and on the back as well, just to give a bit of rib, not too much, but also a bit of interest for me while I'm knitting it. I've done the heel on one sock. I've started the second heel. I haven't gone very far. I was getting very tired last night when I was knitting these, and so I just put it down before I made a mistake. But that's where I'm at with these right now. So hopefully these will be finished up soon. And the second work in progress is another Fisherman's Rib Cowl. Unsurprisingly, I'm obsessed with this method right now. I'm super enjoying it. And this is what it looks like on the right side at the moment. And this is technically the quote-unquote the wrong side, but at the moment it's fully reversible. I'm planning on designing a pattern for it. Not like this one, not with cables, just with increases and decreases. So like a slightly different play on creating a pattern with Fisherman's Rib. So it will definitely have a defined right and wrong side. And the yarns that I'm using for this one are, again, these are my own Handspun. And this gradient beautiful skein, this one I spun as a fractal gradient. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I have an actual separate spinning vlog video on how I spun this yarn on my channel. So if you go to my playlists tab, there's a playlist for spinning vlogs for I think 2018 to 2019, and it's in one of those videos. It's a dedicated video, so you'll see a picture of the finished skein on the cover picture. If I remember, I'll link it below. I might not, and if you can't find it, let me know and I can send you a link. This skein, I got the fiber, so the fiber for this was from Spin Jones. Sorry, I should have said that. She's a UK based fiber dyer and producer, and she produces amazingly beautiful bats and braids and all sorts. This fiber was from a braid of fiber that I picked up from Edinburgh Yarn Festival a couple of years ago. And this one, was it Edinburgh Yarn Festival? Pretty sure it was Edinburgh Yarn Festival, from Spin City. Yeah, from Spin City. It didn't have a name or label on it or anything, so it's an unknown selection of fibers, and I think there's some bamboo in there or something, I seem to recall. But it's a really lovely sort of pale colour that contrasts really well with the darker, more saturated colours in this skein. And so they're knitting up really nicely together. And both of them are 2 plies, so similar weight of yarn as well in the end, which is good. And yeah, really liking how this is turning out so far. So like I said, I've just done the beginning. I haven't started doing any of the patterning yet because I got to this point and then I realised I don't know what pattern I'm going to do yet. I haven't figured that out, so I need to figure that out soon, and then I'm going to start working on that a bit more. I think probably what I'll end up doing is just designing it as I go and just taking notes and then writing it up at the end. That seems to be, that's how I used to do my designing. I used to design on the go, design on the fly all the time, and that's actually what I did with the palette cleanser shawl. That was designed as I knit it, sort of thing. A lot of accessories I tend to design that way. With garments, however, I kind of pre-plan the whole thing, and then I make adjustments as I'm knitting and then adjust the pattern afterwards based on how it's actually knit up. Fun fact for you there. Okay, so before we move on to acquisitions, I guess I should probably talk about why I'm in such a handspun mood right now. And that's probably because we started our, I say we because I'm doing this in conjunction with Mars from Hey Brownberry and Grace from Babel's Travelling Yarns. Both of them have podcasts on YouTube and go by those names, I believe, on Instagram. We have relaunched what I originally called the Spin and Make Along. I did that with Grace back in 2019, and we've relaunched it this year as Fluff to Stuff. I just thought it was a more fun name. It's still the same concept, it's still all the same sort of ideas behind it, and we're doing, as part of Fluff to Stuff this year, as well as all the stuff that we did last year, is we're doing monthly Zoom meetings as kind of a way to create more of a community around it all, allow a platform for us to be able to communicate and like actually physically talk to each other in a world where right now we're still in the midst of this pandemic and we're not able to meet up in person. So our second Zoom meeting is tonight, and our first one was at the end of January, so that's kind of why I really had Handspun on the brain. And you'll see when I come to the spinning section, quite that much handspun has been on my brain. So there's been a lot of handspun knitting and spinning this last month. Okay, so moving on to acquisitions. The first thing I have to share with you isn't actually yarn or fibre. Ooh. It's a mug. How fun is that? So this is by Knit Swag, I believe that's her name on Instagram. And I just want to get the details right, but she's offered a coupon code for you guys, and it's valid until the end of the month on her Etsy shop for 15% off any of the products in her Etsy shop. And the coupon code is just Knitting Expat, all in capitals, and I'll make sure to put that in the link in the description box below with a link to the Etsy shop as well. And so she sent me this customized Mina sort of like color work mug, which is just really fun, and I love having some tea out of it when I'm knitting. It's a good size mug. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's good for a cup of tea basically. Not quite big enough for my coffee, but good for a cup of tea, because I can drink through this before it gets cold. The problem I have with tea is usually it gets cold before I'm halfway through it, but because I like sipping it slowly. But this is a good size. I can get through this before it gets too cold, which is awesome. It's just a fun little gift idea as well. Like if you know someone who's a knitter and you want to get them a gift, but you don't know what kind of yarn they like or what kind of needles they use, or you know it's a knitter, you know someone who's a knitter who has everything they could possibly need, you don't know what to get them. Mug's always awesome, because everyone can always use a mug, and it's fun because you can get something that's personalized to them, and you can pick what sort of colors you want and stuff like that. So I actually think it's a really great gift idea for a knitter if you don't know what to get them. Knitter or a crafter or a crocheter, doesn't have to just be knitting. It's just, I'm a knitter, so I think of that. I got a selection of mini skeins from the lovely Zoe and Jenny, who run Trethrian yarns. I really hope I didn't mispronounce that. So Trethrian is a company based out of Wales. Jenny and Zoe, like I said, they started this company, yarn from farm to yarn in Wales. So it's Welsh Fiber turned into yarn and dyed in Wales, all made in Wales sort of yarn, and that's kind of their whole thing. And so they sent me a selection of 5 mini skeins to kind of sample and play around with for a design at some point. I haven't decided what it's going to be yet. I haven't even wound up the minis to start sampling them. I've got so many other things going on right now, but I'm really looking forward to playing with these at some point. They sent me DK minis. Layla was here when I was opening the package, and she immediately pulled out the red skein and walked off with it and was like, "This one's mine, mummy, this one's mine." So I actually had to go into her yarn stash to dig this out, so no one tell her that it's missing. But yeah, so she actually told me that I was supposed to knit daddy mittens with this yarn, so who knows, maybe there'll be a mitten pattern coming down the line at some point. We'll see, but I'm really excited to get these swatched and figured out what I'm going to do with them. And I actually really quite like these colors together. It's not necessarily a combination that I would have put together, but I actually think it looks quite fun. Even if I took this lighter blue out, I think these look quite nice together. Anyway, we'll see what that ends up being. If you have any ideas of something that you think would be great out of sort of this sort of farm yarn, DK weight farm yarn, I'm thinking something color work maybe, because it's non-superwash and it'd be great, so it'd be great for color work. Or I don't know, open to ideas. If you have any suggestions or thoughts on what you would like to see from me, then feel free to let me know in the comments. Love to hear it. And yeah, so again, with spinning in mind, like I said, all about the spinning and handspun, I actually spun up a lot of fiber this month, and so because of that I was like, you know what, I deserve to treat myself. I really didn't need to. I have so much fiber to spin through. I had no business buying more fiber at this point, but I did. So what? Anyway, so I bought some fiber from 2 Etsy shops, and actually my main reasoning was I don't have any more bats, and I actually spun up my last bat this last month, and I really enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I don't have any more bats yet. So and I was like, I really enjoyed spinning it. I want to spin a bit, spin more bats and just enjoy playing with the whole art yarn sort of aspect of it, and things like that. So I went to one of my favourite producers of bats in the UK, is a shop called Barn 2 Yarn. I think she was one of the very first people I bought fiber from when I first started spinning as well. The other one that I really like is Spin Jones, but at the time when I was looking to purchase, she didn't have any bats that I was interested in getting, essentially. So I didn't purchase any from her yet, but I am keeping an eye out for when she has shop updates. But I got 2 bats from Barn to Yarn, which are really fun. This one is a rainbow inspired bat, if you couldn't tell. So you've got all the rainbow colours, you've got the sky blue, and then you've got the clouds with these neps. I will be honest, these neps, these little balls of fibre, they are the bane of my existence when it comes to spinning. I really do not enjoy spinning them because they don't always stick onto the yarn properly. Like 50% of them don't stay on the yarn that you're spinning. And then because the strand of fibre or yarn is spinning round and round, these just like fly off all over the place, like all over the living room or wherever it is I'm spinning. And so I always have to clean them up straight away, because otherwise Hugo comes along. Hugo's one of our cats. He comes along and tries to eat them. So it's really a pain for me to spin these. But I really love the whole bat overall, and I'm willing to put up with that. And the second one that I got, again, I can't remember if it had a name on her site, but it's this sort of like swampy, mossy green one. And it's got lots of these locks and other fibres sort of throughout it. And I like these kinds of neps that are added in, like silk noil. I think that's what it is. It's like silk noil. I really like that sort of texture. And that spins really like nicely into the yarn. Not smoothly, these are all going to be art yarns, but better than these little fuzzy ball nep things. They, like I said, bane of my existence when it comes to spinning, but it's fine. I love the colours, I'll put up with it. It's not actually that bad. Then I looked at another fibre producer that I've purchased from. I have purchased from them before, and this was Velvet Sixpence, and they're also a UK based dyer. And I first saw this little bat trio, is what she calls it, which I thought was really fun. And it's 150 grams of fibre actually in 3 different bats, so each one's 50 grams. And this is a much more sort of like smoother blend of fibre, so you could get a more traditional sort of yarn out of it rather than an art yarn like I would with the other bats. So I got this, and then I was like, well, fibre doesn't want to travel alone, so I can't just buy one thing. So I also picked up a braid of her Polworth as well. So Polworth is one of my favourite fibres to spin. I absolutely love how squishy and soft and floofy it is, and it's just a joy to spin. I love it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as a first sort of fibre to try if you're new to spinning, because it doesn't have a super long staple length, but it's a really good one once you've got a handle on what you're doing. And I can't remember if this one has a colourway name or not. It's not on the packaging, but it's just this lovely red, because of course I had to get red. I'm sort of spinning up some yarns for Layla at the moment, and obviously red is amongst that. Okay, I do have one more thing in regards to acquisitions to share with you, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it in this video because I'm planning on filming a separate video about it. And for those of you who've been around for a while, you know that I picked up watercolour painting almost a year ago now. I started at the end of March last year, so my first watercolour set was my Mother's Day present from Layla and Perry to me. And so it's kind of been deep dive down that rabbit hole ever since. And one of the things I really wanted to do with my watercolours was find a way to put them on products or whatever that you guys might be interested in purchasing, if you wanted to. So far all I've done with them have been to offer some of them as digital downloads, which has been great, and thank you to everyone who has ever purchased one. And also as greeting cards, which again, thank you so much to everyone who's ever purchased one of my greeting card sets. But I wanted to find a way that I could offer them on more products, but also in a way where I wouldn't have to buy like a huge quantity of them as like a wholesale order, and then have to worry about where to store them, and then also have to deal with all the shipping and all of that sort of stuff. So I went with Redbubble in the end. I set up a Redbubble shop. I have put up I think about 14 or 15 different designs on there at the moment, and then as and when I come up with more ideas and have time to create more designs, I will update the shop that way. But what I did was I ordered a few of them printed onto different products so I could share them with you. And so I have a stack of different options here. So first and like the easiest thing are like stickers. So I've had a bunch of different designs printed on stickers, and these are great. They have different options for stickers. So these are just their basic matte ones, but they also have glossy ones, transparent ones, different options for those. Then the one thing I really liked was the zipper pouches that they offer. So they have 3 different sizes, and I've got one in each size that they offer here, so you can really see how big they are. So this is the smallest size they have, and it's really cute as like a little notions pouch, or like a little makeup bag, or even like a coin purse in your handbag. It's a really good size, and that is one of the patterns, little florals. Then the medium-sized one, again, this would be great for like a makeup bag, or like a travel bag if you want to put like documents and stuff in there. Not that anyone's traveling right now, but eventually one day, hopefully, or whatever, or like a larger notions bag, or even, you know, you could probably fit like a little a really tiny project in here, I guess. But so it's a very usable size for a variety of things, like a little makeup bag. And then the large size, which I actually think is a really useful size for a project bag, if that's what you're interested in. You can see these are flat, they're not box bottom like traditional project bags and things like that. And these bags are all lined in black. But what you can do, and I do this with a lot of my zippered project bags anyway, so you can fold the top down so the zip is out of the way of your project, and you can pop them. You can pop it, like, you can do it like this, so it kind of folds out the corners, and then it will just sit on the table. And then that's a big enough space to fit 2 small balls of yarn. So if you're doing 2 at a time socks, or even just a single skein project, like for a hat or a cowl or anything like that, or something colour work even, you could do in here. So it's a really good size, very usable sort of project bag size. And so those are the zipper pouch options. Then they also do notebooks, and I got 2 of these printed, and I got them printed with what they call the graph paper lining, so it's not straight lines, which I prefer for my notebooks, but they also have a ruled option as well, and they will come with little pockets in the back. I mean, I personally don't find that particularly useful for me because I don't use them, but some people do, so I thought I'd mention it. So I got 2 different options printed for those. And finally, this is my favorite thing that I saw that they had on there, was they do tote bags, like printed, all over printed tote bags. So I got 2 in the medium size. So this one has this summery fruit print on it, and then I got another medium one as well. I got 2 in the medium size. Really love how this one is done, and they're really big as well. Like, this is the biggest size, sorry, this is the medium size. And the first one that I ordered was in the larger size, and I'll show you that in a second, and that turned out to be a lot bigger than I even expected. But this is a really good size, even as a project bag, or as just like a bag to go out for the day, shopping bag, whatever you want to use it for. And then this is the largest size bag, which I got printed with the world map pattern that I printed for my around the world in 8 socks club. And so you can see how big this is compared to me. This is huge. I think this one, if I'm not mistaken, is something like 18 inches square. So this one's pretty big, and they are slightly boxed on the bottom. Not a huge amount. Okay, I've actually shown you a lot more than I planned to with these, but anyway, there will be a dedicated video for this on my channel as well sometime next week, so you can keep an eye out for that if you want to see them in more detail and stuff like that. I will show you a little bit slower and less rushed than I am right now, because I'm kind of just waiting any moment for Layla to barge through that living room door. Anyway, so that's available from now. The shop's actually been open for a while, I just haven't shared about it. So if you are interested, feel free to head over to my Redbubble. Again, that'll be linked below as well. And all of these are options on that site, along with a whole host of other sort of items as well. You can get anything from like coasters, bath mats, so many different things, phone cases, iPad cases, laptop cases, all sorts of things you can get from Redbubble. And that's kind of why I like the idea of going through it. I get a commission of whatever you purchase. I get a percentage of that sale comes to me, and the rest obviously goes to Redbubble, because they are dealing with the logistics, the shipping, the printing, the actual products and stuff like that. So it goes for their costs, which is fine. Let me know what you think of that, if you like it or not. And and yeah, just let me know what you think. Like, even if you can't purchase right now, whatever, that's absolutely fine. Just let me know. I'd love to know what you think about it. I also know that I mentioned during my Around the World in 8 Socks video that I was thinking about doing greeting card sets for the world map and the different city prints, which I'm still planning on doing. I'm just trying to figure out exactly the different cost options for a few different variation of options that I want to offer, and then I'll probably have them listed as a pre-order for a couple of weeks, and then based on the number of orders I get in, I'm going to place an order for that many cards of the different sizes and stuff like that, because there again, I don't want to end up with a huge amount of stock either. So I'm still working that out. I'm just not in a place right now where that's a priority. But because the sock club's going to be going on year long, I will be doing it at some point, probably in the next month or two. I will get my act together and get those pre-orders up. I've just had a few other things that take precedent right now in my life that that's kind of been pushed down on the list of priorities, I guess, at the moment. So like I said, hopefully soon. Okay, so that's it for acquisitions and stuff that's coming through the door. Let's move on to the final, well not final, second to last segment, which is spinning. And like I said, I have been pretty spinning obsessed this last month, and this is the result of all that spinning. There are 9 skeins of yarn here, and yeah, it smells very sheepy and awesome. So yeah, I'm very excited about all of this. So let's go through. So this was that art bat that I had. And also, by the way, if you see any of my handspun that you're interested in, you might like, feel free to approach me and ask me if it's for sale, because pretty much I'm willing to sell any of my handspun because I have more than I will ever be able to knit up myself. And I'm actually thinking of doing a handspun sale either on Payhip or on Etsy. Again, at some point, maybe in a month or so down the line, once I can get it all together. But if you do see something that you like, just send me a message, Instagram, email, comment below, whatever, and we can sort something out, honestly, because I have so much handspun. I'm more than happy to give it a good home to someone else who would appreciate it. So this was that art bat that I was saying, that the last one I had from Barn to Yarn, and this is 100 grams, ended up being 233 meters or 255 yards. It's a 2-ply woolen spun yarn, and it was basically bare fiber with lots of colorful add-ins thrown in, which was really fun. And it was just really, really lovely. And it's roughly, I'd say, a DK-ish weight. Then this fiber was from the lovely Grace, my co-host, one of my co-hosts for Fluff to Stuff. This is by Babbles Yarn. The colorway was called Half Moon Bay, and it's 80% BFL, 20% silk. And this, I chain plied it because it was a gradient. And so it maintains the gradient essentially, and it's a 3-ply yarn. And this was 96 grams, and I got 264 meters or 288 yards. So again, this is about a sportish weight, sport weight. I've lost my wraps per inch tool, so I can't give you more specific details on that, but I can guess roughly where I've landed on the yarn weight scale. So this is, these 2 braids were these 2 yarns was spun from fiber that was gifted to me by Mars of Hey Brownberry. So this one was some roving, some Lincoln Corriedale Romney blend roving. There was 67 grams, and I chain plied it, and I got 177 meters or 193 yards. And this one was some Rambouillet, which is another fiber I absolutely love to spin. It's very similar to Polworth in terms of how it feels. Rambouillet, also chain plied, 58 grams, and I got 195 meters or 213 yards. And this was dyed by her daughter, and it was dyed in colors to look like the earth. There's lots of browns, greens and blues in there, which is awesome. And I'm thinking of doing something together with these 2, but I haven't figured it out yet. I don't have a specific project in mind. Even though the whole purpose of a Fluff to Stuff is to spin intentionally, you'll notice that a lot of my spinning has not been super intentional at the moment. But I have been spinning some things intentionally, and I will get to those in a second. So then I had some Rolags from Fellview Fibers, which is another fiber dyer and maker producer in the UK who I absolutely love. Her Rolags, hands down, the best thing in the world. Like, honestly, I have not spun Rolags as smooth or as beautiful as hers like ever. They are more expensive than Rolex from other producers, but totally worth the money. Beautifully prepped. Okay, so this was her abalone Rolex. It's a blend of merino, baby alpaca and mulberry silk. It was a 2-ply, and I got 444 meters or 485 yards, so a pretty strong fingering weight yarn right there. And this is just so beautiful. So beautiful. And because of that silk content, it's very drapey as well. You can see how it drapes compared to this fiber, which doesn't bend at all because it's just wool, but this one has that silk content making it super droopy, which is awesome. Then I have this fiber. This one's actually was a braid from Spin Jones as well, and this was in the smoky plum colorway. It's a merino silk and bamboo blend, and this ended up being 322 meters or 353 yards in a 2-ply. So it's a nice solid sport weight right there, sport to fingering weight. And again, super drapey because of that silk, and it's so beautiful. Absolutely love how this one has turned out as well. It's got a nice sheen to it from that silk as well. Then one of my goals for Fluff to Stuff this year is to spin for socks. And actually in that vein, I was kindly gifted a sock spinning course by Alana Wilcox, who goes by Spinny Buns on Instagram. She's created this sock spinning course, which has been amazing. And so I watched it. It's all online. I watched it, and it was funny because a lot of the information was very familiar to me in the way that, in the sense that I had figured some of that out over the time that I've been spinning as well. But a lot of it was, but she goes really deep into the technical side of spinning for socks, and like how to deconstruct, how to break down sock yarn into its like most basic steps, and then to build it back up again with your spinning and how to get to that point essentially. So it was really good information. And if you're interested in the technical side of spinning, it's a great course. If you really want to understand the structure and the basics and like the technical aspects of creating sock yarn, it's an amazing course. I highly recommend it. And if I remember, I will link the course below. If I don't remember and you're interested, please let me know in the comments and I'll make sure to go ahead and link that as well. Because I'm going to be linking a lot of stuff, I might forget a couple of links. So if I do forget anything and you're looking for it and you can't find it in the description box, let me know and I'll make sure to add it. So this was my first attempt. This was some fibre I had from another UK fibre maker, the Shepherd's Hut. And this ended up being a chain ply that got me 333 meters or 365 yards. So not exactly what I was hoping for, but it got me really close. And I can actually still get a pair of socks out of this fine. It will just be slightly thicker socks. So I'll just have to use slightly larger needles and adjust my stitch count, which is fine. And I will definitely be knitting these up as socks, probably after the hand spun socks I currently have going. Then I spun up this yarn. And this is yarn fibre from John Arbon Textiles. It's from their Harvest Hues range in the pomegranate colourway. I can't remember what the fibre content is for the Harvest Hues. I think it's merino and something else, or it might be corridel and something. I can't remember honestly, but it's from the Harvest Hues range in pomegranate. And I'm planning on using this as something for Layla, I think, but this is my first true sock weight yarn in a chain ply, so a 3-ply sock weight yarn. I got 432 meters or 473 yards out of 117 grams of fiber. So this is like a proper sock weight yarn, which is, again, I spun this after watching that video course from Alana, so it definitely, a lot of that information sort of like sunk in and stuck with me. So it was a great, yeah, definitely helped. So yeah, I've been really sort of, a lot of the spinning I've been doing has been kind of practicing to get to the point where I can spin for socks, essentially get like a true fingering weight sock yarn out of my spinning. The last skein I have to show you is this one, and I haven't set this yet, so this one hasn't been washed. So the yardage will probably change, and I don't actually have this one labeled yet because of that, so I don't know the exact yardage, but I know I got over 400 yards, well over 400 yards, like closer to 500 yards in this. This one is Polworth, and I got the bare Polworth fibre from John Arbon Textiles. Again, they're based here in the UK, and I spun it as a 2-ply, and so sorry, got the bare fibre from them, and then I dyed it with Layla using food colouring a little over a year ago. There might even be a vlog about it, I can't remember. And yeah, it's just been sat in my stash ever since. And so I spun this as a 2-ply, really fun, really sort of quick and simple spinning. Like, I didn't think too much about it, but because I'd been spinning so much, practicing so much for sock yarn, I naturally spun this quite thin without really thinking about it too much. And my prep really wasn't, if I wanted a thicker yarn, the prep wasn't really appropriate for that. So that's, I mean, how I prepped in terms of stripping down the fibres. But I really love how this finished yarn has turned out. If it will focus. And yeah, it was lots of greens, blues and yellows. So again, really happy with how that one has turned out as well. So that's the 9 skeins of handspun that I have managed to come up with this last month. And yeah, so whilst I didn't feel like I actually did a lot this last month, clearly I have. I've knit 3 pairs of socks, a shawl, a cowl, and a whole stack of yarns. Actually no, the shawl, in fairness, I'd finished that the last time I podcasted. It was blocking, so that doesn't count. That was knit in January, not February, not this month. So 1 cowl, 3 pairs of socks, and 9 skeins of handspun. So not actually all that bad. Okay, so that's it. That's everything I had to share with you in terms of like stuff. Now I guess we're into the final section, just a little chit chat at the end, a little roundup of what we've been up to recently. So last week, or I said earlier this week, on Monday was Layla's 4th birthday, so we now have a 4-year-old, which is crazy. And because her birthday was on a Monday, and she doesn't normally go to preschool on Mondays, we actually put her in for an extra day this week so that she could have it, you know, she could at least play with her friends at preschool. And they do a birthday cake. If there's a kid in on their birthday, they'll do them a birthday cake, and they have like a little tea party. Layla asked for a unicorn tea party, so that's what they did. They decorated unicorn headbands and had a unicorn tea party at the end of the day, and she went in dressed up as a superhero, which was really fun. Then the day before her birthday on the Sunday, we had the most amazing weather. We've actually had the most amazing weather this whole week, to be honest. But last weekend was the first weekend when we had like truly beautiful sunny weather. And so we arranged to go to the park, and I met a couple of her preschool friends there. They had lots of fun playing. I mean, they're in the same preschool class, in the same preschool bubble. They played together all week. Didn't really think it was much of a risk for them to play together outside in the park. So we did that. And she loved it. We didn't tell her they were coming, so it was such a surprise for her to see them, and she absolutely loved it. She had so much fun. I think we spent close to 4 hours at the playground by the time we came home. We were there from like 10:30 till like 2, I think, like 3.5 hours or something. We were there all day, or more, well, that whole time. And the weather was absolutely beautiful. It was so lovely. Like I said, it's been really lovely ever since, to be honest. It's been very spring-like, I guess, which is a bit strange because 2 weeks ago we had snow. So anyway, so yeah, we had snow 3 weeks ago, and that was really nice. It was the first proper snow that we've had in a while, and so that was, Layla absolutely loved it. We went outside, she built a snowman, we had lots of snowball fights. It was just lots of fun. And then what else did we do? We had another week of isolation a week or so before her birthday, where there was another case of COVID in one of the kids at her preschool, so we had another week at home, which was fun. It's always stressful, but it was all right. It's hard to do work when she's around full time, so it's kind of like one of those weeks where it just feels like you didn't get anything done kind of thing. You're just staying on top of the bare minimum. Then what else? Both of my parents have had their first vaccines, which is awesome. Perry's mum's had hers, and his dad's having his later this week, which is awesome. Just, yeah, it's kind of everything's, well, we're just waiting our turn now. I think we're two groups away. So in the UK, they're doing it by age. So at the moment, they're vaccinating everyone in their 50s and above. And then I think the next group to be called up are people in their 40s, and then it'll be the 30s. So we'll be in that group, people in the 30s. So hopefully not too long. Hopefully sometime in the next next 2 months we'll be called up to get our vaccines as well, and I just can't wait. Honestly, just can't wait. Looking forward to this all being over. We've had our roadmap to exiting this whole lockdown and all these restrictions announced last week. So the end is in sight. Honestly, the vaccines seem to be really helping with the cases. Everything's coming down slowly but surely, and so yeah, hopefully this will all be over soon. And yeah, right, I don't know what else I have to share. There's something I forgot to tell you, but that's it for now. I will be honest, I've been feeling really run down recently. I had a really emotional week this last week. Just feeling a bit overwhelmed with so much work and so many things that I've got going on right now. And but yeah, I'm looking forward to be honest, a lot of the things are just really positive things. It's just a lot of things happening at the same time. You know, a lot of it is stuff that I can't really share right now, but like I said, good things, all good things. Anyway, hope you guys are doing okay. Let me know how you're doing. And yeah, what are you working on right now? Are you taking part in Fluff2 stuff? Are you doing spinning at the moment? What are you knitting on? Feel free to share in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. All right, take care. Bye.